laying it on the line. We're talking about Mark Magsayo versus Ray Vargas. Um, this was actually one that I thought was a little tough for me to call. Mark Magsayo, he's a good body puncher. He has some nice counter punches. But against Gary Russell Jr., early on in the fight, he was doing okay. Then Gary Russell hurt his arm, and Gary Russell had to sharpshoot him with the left arm. And Gary was controlling the fight. Pretty much he controlled the fight from rounds 5 to me till round 11, even 12. Mark Messiah threw a lot more punches and stuff, but I thought Gary landed the cleaner, more effective punches and actually won that fight with just his left hand. Um, and Mark Messiah does get caught with left hands. Now, the thing about it is, Ray Vargas is a very good boxer. Okay, he's kind of long, rangy. He's much longer than Mark Messiah. He's going to have that reach and length. Mark Messiah said he's working on his footwork to close the distance, also to cut off Ray Vargas moves around a lot. Mark Messiah is talking about running. But I saw Gary Russell Jr. set him up and run him into shots. Set him up and run him into shots. Ray Vargas is not as good a boxer as Gary Russell Jr., but he is a boxer. He's also tough. So even though he's coming up in weight and everything, I think that Mark Messiah, this is going to be a test for him. Obviously, he's the hot name right now. He's the guy that beat Gary Russell Jr. Um, but I think that Ray Vargas can outbox him. Just being honest. Uh, I think Ray Vargas can outbox him. So I'm going to give. This is not an easy fight for me to call because both guys are undefeated, yes. Mark Messiah has improved. I'm sure he's going to be better than the guy that faced Gary Russell Jr. Um, and so it's not as straightforward for me to call. I've been thinking about the fight for a minute, a good minute. This is what I say. I think Ray Vargas is going to take it by decision. Um, and that may be an unpopular opinion because Mark Messiah is the hot guy right now. And Gary, Freddie Roach does a good job with him. Mark Messiah says he still has to work on things. So he's a work in progress. Sharp fighter. I'm sure he got Gary Russell Jr. experience is going to be great for him. So it's very possible he wins this fight because of the Gary Russell experience, for example. Ray Vargas is not as good a boxer as Gary Russell Jr., but he does use his feet quite well. Ray Vargas, he does get tagged every now and then with shots. Um, Both guys are not really, even though they show that they have knockout percentages and stuff, they're not really the biggest punchers in the world. Mark Messiah has been knocked down a couple times by left shots, left hooks and stuff like that. So I don't know if Ray Vargas can knock him down. Ray Vargas is coming up in weight. So there's a lot of things that I can't really be certain about this fight and call it like I really want to call it. But I would say I think of Ray Vargas because he's the boxer. I think that Mark Messiah, though explosive at times and also, has some interesting counter punches that he throws. I think he can be outboxed, especially if you have a good jab. And so I think Ray Vargas is going to get the nod over Mark Messiah, and that's how I'm going to go with it. I think Ray Vargas is going to beat him. Now, whether they give Ray Vargas the decision is a totally different story, but and Ray Vargas' style, sometimes people boo it. So I don't know if the judges will be influenced by the aggression of Mark Messiah like they did with the Gary Russell Jr. fight and probably give him the fight because of that. But my prediction and what I think will happen is I think Ray Vargas will beat Mark Messiah. Now I could be wrong because, like I said before, this fight there's too many different factors involved in it for me to just say Mark Messiah could have improved because of the Gary Russell Jr. fight. You know, Ray Vargas, you know, um, is a very good boxer, but at the same time, the momentum may be going for Mark Messiah. Maybe his style is not fan friendly enough, or whatever could be the case. But all things being equal, I think it's going to be about Mark Messiah. I think the favor. I think things work into the hands of the guy who um, is making a fighter pursue him, and I think it's always an advantage for a guy who's really good at getting guys to come after him. And I think when when you're good enough, I don't know how good Ray is. Ray is fought a number of fighters and done very, very well, outpointing them. Um, but if Ray is competent enough and good enough, and he's trained by a natural Berestein, so I would assume he's good enough. I think that Ray should pull this one off on Mark Messiah. I don't really expect it to be, toe to toe kind of thing, but Ray's tough. You know, Ray's got a good range and length, and Mark Messiah is going to have to figure out a way to get past that jab, especially if Ray is jabbing and moving. Now, Ray's not the best jabbing mover I've seen. He's not the best stick and mover I've seen. He does get hit with shots. So this is why I'm not 100% saying that Mark Messiah would lose to Ray. But, Ray has been able to make it by a number of fighters. So, like I said before, I'm going to pick Ray, um, and we'll see how it goes. But it's kind of iffy because, Ray does get hit. He's tough, but he does get hit. Um, and so, how good Ray? To me, this is a fight that Ray could either win or lose. This is how I look at it. I think it's more. I think it's more up to Ray to win the fight or lose the fight than it is Mark Masayo. Mark Masayo is going to do what he does, but if you have a good jab, I realize Mark Masayo has problems with that, especially if you know how to use it and time it and utilize it. And what can I say? We'll see. I'm guessing Mark is going to try and apply pressure, and Ray's going to be the one on the back foot. So, but if you're on the back foot, you have a lot of advantages, you know, working in your favor because you don't have to worry about looking for your opponent. Whereas the guy who's pressuring you, that's the guy who usually has the harder time um, fighting because he can walk into stuff. Anyway, that's what I got. I'm what you need. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you think this prediction is cool, then smash the like button, man. Share, subscribe, donate. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.